This is Tales from the Grid. Hosted by TPS students, we talk with people from all walks of life to better understand our now and realize our next. We're your hosts, Immogen,
Eli,
and Ayla.
Let's get started.
We're here today with Dave Jones, former teacher and assistant principal, real estate agent, business owner, self-proclaimed tech nerd, and basketball junkie, along with his son, high school student Taylor Jones, discussing the use of AI in the rapidly changing world. Dave, you transitioned from being a teacher, then a high school assistant principal, now a real estate agent entrepreneur. How has your background in education shaped your approach on being a business owner?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me on, and thank you for having me and Taylor on.
Yes, of course.
Speak for him, but I taught business education, so I taught at Stadium High School from 2004 to 2012, I think, somewhere around there. But basically, I was at Stadium High School for 12 years, teaching business education. So I had a lot of so I was teaching business education. Now I'm just doing the same things that I was teaching. So I taught web design, I taught accounting, I taught digitals. So I had a computer lab basically, and I was teaching around that. I think they teach those classes now, some of those classes now in middle school, but so I had a computer lab. I love tech, so I was teaching tech, and all of those things translate to what I'm doing today. So from accounting, like I literally just got done with my budget late, but I got done with my budget. So all of that is stuff that I was teaching in accounting. Web design, we have a web designer that does our website now, but I know how to get on the back end and manipulate it if I need to. I know how to code. I know how to do all those things. When it comes to using, like Microsoft Office or Google or whatever, like I use all of those platforms for our job, for our work and our tech stack. So a lot of it's not about like the actual software you use, but it's about like how do you use it. And so when I was teaching like, how do you use this stuff? Because you're going to have any type of software thrown in front of you. You just need to know how it kind of works and what you need to click on and where you need to click on and, just kind of the infrastructure, like how you need to get something done. Because there's going to be all kinds of different software that you throw at yourself, or that you get thrown at you. But it's informed, like my teaching years have definitely informed how I run the business today. And how my wife and I run the business, and from everything from how I speak to people, how I create relationships and connect with people, because I was really big on like connecting with students, and so it's no different now, connecting with our agents, connecting with community members, connecting with people. So I think that's a lot of it informs what I'm doing today. So There's a lot of transferable skills, I should say.
Taylor, your dad talked about innovation. I want to ask you about AI. A lot of teachers are worried that AI encourages dishonesty when it comes to academics. From your experience as a student, how should teachers rethink AI as a tool to get their students to think deeper rather than just a shortcut?
Well, my dad earlier was talking about how, he can use Microsoft Office and Word and all the different programs that come within all these online programs. And I really think that AI is just sort of, it's like the Swiss Army knife of digital tools. You can use it for anything, really. At first it was somewhat limited, but now you can use it for pretty much anything. And even though every student might not be extremely proficient in using it in those sorts of ways, I think that it's still incredibly expansive in its capabilities. And honestly, teachers are somewhat justified in their worries that it might increase dishonesty, but I think that the lack of knowledge surrounding AI sort of leads to students attempting to use shortcuts, because when they don't understand it, it's easier to just take the fastest route to the knowledge that they need.
I totally understand using AI as a tool. I've used AI summarizers to bullet point out really long passages of history readings that are written decades ago.
Yeah.
I feel like using AI is important in school, but also sometimes I'll be using it for my math homework also. But don't tell my mom.
Mm-hmm. Can I put y'all on game real quick? Have y'all ever heard of a Google Notebook LM?
Oh
I've heard of it, but because of the school's contract with Microsoft, all the Google stuff is unable to be used.
See, you're messing out. Messing out.
I mean,
Yeah.
like, some might even say that some teachers also use AI, but, I can't disclose who I heard that from for lesson plans and stuff. Just
Yeah.
to make them like new every year.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, I think if I were a teacher right now, I would be using Google. I would be using Notebook LM because you can literally like make a study guide. You can it'll have questions. It'll
Yeah.
create a podcast
There's,
so you can give it to kids. You know what I mean? Like,
I've seen
I'd
an AI tool out there that'll you feed it your PDF, and it'll make practice tests,
Yeah.
flashcards, study guides, practice worksheets, basically any kind of PDF reading that you might be given.
Yeah. So I think that that's a great use for it. I mean, like to Taylor's point about, the cheating and the shortcuts, I think there's obviously that worry, but I think if I was a staff member or a teacher right now, like leaning into some of those tools and being curious about them, I think is a good way to go.
People are always going to find ways to cheat.
Right. It was happening back in my day when I was in school. Like, it was passing notes, and I remember. Oh, never mind. That's a tangent. I'm not even going to talk about that story. So anyway, I think teachers. I think if you're using it to get to a place like lesson planning, I think it has a great use for teachers. I think there's a lot of opportunity to cut down the planning and prep time to then focus on critical thinking and student-led and student voice and student mastery and student all of the things that we talk about when we talk about like instructional practice. And so that's how I envision AI being used in this from a teacher's perspective. I think it does create an opportunity to the prep time, because I know how long it takes to prep a lesson.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm not pointing any fingers or anything here. 12 different chefs can cook a potato 12 different ways, but I think that it's just not. Sometimes a teacher will be like, "Were you using AI on this project?" And it's like, bro, you're using an AI checker that runs on AI to check me for AI. It's AI all the way down, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So, what about using AI to do artistic projects or artistic freedom? Where do you lie on that?
I think you have to know where it stops and starts. For me at least, I understand that not everybody is going to get this, but it's a line in the sand. You want to use AI art to make your cat look like what's the one, the Mona Da Vinci painting? The Mona Lisa, sorry. The Mona Lisa, that's fine. But when you start posting the AI art and it's not in good humor and you're saying that it's yours, I don't think it's truly yours when it's built off of a database like that. And I just think visual art has a different kind of creativity that writing is not necessarily the same as, which is why I would separate them.
And Dave, you've done some pretty cutting-edge stuff using technology at Foss High School. Could you tell us a little bit more about that?
Man, I'm going to have to go back pretty far. I mean, that was, 7 years ago now? My brain doesn't work like that anymore. I'm old. I think one of the things that I like to utilize, or at least now, is going live. I think that's one of the most underutilized video technologies, if you will, or ways to use video. I think is super underutilized, and I think that we're going more towards a live format.
You mean right now it's underutilized?
Yes, absolutely.
Live streams?
Not for no. I mean in terms of like regular people just using it out in the field. Like, I feel like it's underutilized. Maybe for you guys, it's not.
After
Streamers,
COVID,
I know you guys
after
streamers and all that.
Like
I
live
know.
streams and streaming?
I'm hip to Kaizen.
I don't know about that. Are we cutting Microsoft Teams?
I'm saying for businesses, so like, or for schools, or for like, so for example, like organizations don't go live enough, businesses don't go live enough, or for example, like I want to go live with mom, and in this case, my wife, to talk about something as the owners of the company. Like, I think that unfiltered live content from leaders, and I think people want that. I think they want to cut through the filtering and get to like, what does this person even sound like? What do they even think? Like, unfiltered. And so at Foss, what I do is after we do our little breakfast club, so I have like a mentorship group. We play basketball. We show up and with Mr. Smith, who's the PE teacher there, and Tashi Langton and Tashi, and like shout out to all of them, Kagochi. So what we do is I'll go there and then I'll go live from the school, because what I heard from our community was no one's ever been in the schools. So I'm like, all right, cool. Well, I'll take you into school. You know, and I try to highlight different people in the school, because I think it's important that you know who's around kids, and that people, there's a lot of great staff members and teachers and paras and all kinds of people in these schools, but there's narratives outside of the school that go around in the community, and I'm just like, well, every time I ask, well, have you been to the school? Like, no. All right, well, how do you have this narrative about a school and you've never been there? You've heard it from one person.
Really like to stereotype schools based
Right.
on what area of the Tacoma they're in.
So I go live every Friday. So that's one way. One way that I use technology in that sense. When I was a principal there, I mean, the tech that we had at that time isn't even relevant to this conversation. So I'm not going to talk about that. But yeah, I think right now that's how I think you can dispel some narratives, because I'm there every week and I can show you the cafeteria. Oh, you don't have to go. You can go literally search Foss Friday and it'll pop up, and you can go watch years worth of live from Foss, and you can paint the picture for yourself what you think it might be. But also, I don't want to discount everybody's experience at a school is different. I also acknowledge that and understand that.
Just to clarify, when you say streaming, you mean not less person to person, less Microsoft Teams kind of stuff, and more person to audience? Like to the masses.
Yeah, like let's just go live, you know what I mean? And just see what is it like to work at Google? Go live from there. What's it like to work at Nike? What's it like to work at Windermere Abode? What's it like to be at Foss High School? What's it like to be at Silas? What's it like to be at Stadium? You know, like, what's it like to be at Soda? And so that's how I think of it, like utilizing video to tell a story that sometimes is unfiltered, and I think people want that.
Yep.
I mean, you guys watch streamers and stuff, right?
I haven't logged on to as many live streams, because people I tend to follow are usually on the East Coast, and so they will live stream in the middle of the night for me. Or they'll start live streams at 8 a.m. Leading into your experience both in and out of the classroom, what skills, or are there any, that we should prioritize learning ourselves that AI can't do or replace for us?
Good question. I think you should, like, if I'm speaking to, if I were teaching right now, or I'm talking to a classroom of students, or I'm the oldest person at this table right now, so I am talking to students, but I think that learning how to prompt engineering is really important.
You got to write the whole thing the right way.
Because if we all had to do the same thing, let's say you gave us we all had the same assignment or whatever, or the same thing that we had to create a prompt for, I'm pretty sure my prompt would be way more detailed and I would get exactly what I wanted, because I've done it a lot. And so I've been able to trial and error, and the more detailed you are and the more you can articulate yourself, the better the result you're going to get. And that requires you to, one, have a command of the English language. So that's why English is still important, right? Yeah. You need to know how to word things. You need to know spelling. You need to know vocabulary to know what the thing is. And so having that verbiage around whatever that topic is. So if it's science, for example, I might not be as good at that prompt because I don't know a lot of the verbiage in science. That's just not my thing. So a science teacher might come along, if they're really good at prompting science stuff, though, they know all the terminology to use, because the AI will be able to just be like, oh, I know exactly what they're talking about. Instead of the caveman terms that I would use, and then they'd distill down them multiple times because I'm not using the right verbiage, you know?
Yeah. Prompting AI is one of those things where somebody will talk about AI and you can sort of expose people in that way, because they're holding almost a comically large umbrella over the whole thing. It's like, are you talking about AI that requires prompts? Because you can be on the scale of requires more prompts or more interaction from the user, versus you kind of just let it do its thing, and those are very, very different.
That's a good point.
Yeah, AI summarizer is you just put the text in and then it'll tell you the general idea of it, versus ChatGPT, you have to talk to it constantly.
Yeah, like a human.
Yeah.
It's the smartest assistant you'll ever have. Like, no, seriously, like it literally is the smartest person that you have access to. And that's how I think about it. And that's how I talk to it.
Me. When people use AI just off the bat, I think that if you're not like a frequent user, it's gonna be as Dave said, I mean, as my dad said, you're not gonna get as good of a response as somebody who uses it all the time. But I think that in the school environment, looping back to what we were talking about earlier, that as AI gets more restricted, or every time your teacher tells you, we're using AI on this because my checker came up for this amount of percent, that kids are going to start trying to find ways around that, and that they're going to say, write this in a middle school level and a high school level. They're going to run through it multiple times to make sure that it looks harder to check. And, like restriction breeds innovation and all that stuff. As people get more limited, or as it gets, the ability to detect AI becomes more widespread, the ability to get around that detection is it just keeps going back and forth.
That's a good point.
Taylor, I'm curious. What do you think school's going to look like, especially high school, will look like 5 to 10 years from now? Have you thought about how different many jobs will be as well?
Honestly, I can't say that I give it a ton of thought. It's not something I think about all the time. But, every now and then I'm in my CTE class, or we were just talking and I was thinking about my CTE class. And I think that some of that stuff might be more geared towards how do you use AI? If it's going to be such a big tool, learning how to use it, as we were saying in the previous conversation about prompting and all that, might be something that you learn how to use, just like you learn how to use any of the Adobe tools or anything like that. And it's a little unrelated, but you guys actually know, speaking of college and AI, that the person who developed the first AI checker, which was a couple of years ago, I think, was actually a college student and not a college teacher. And I just think that's baffling.
So, Dave, I'm curious about your opinion on all of this, both as a business owner and a father. Could you tell us a little bit about how you're feeling?
I feel great. Like, I'm probably the wrong person to ask this, because I'm a tech forward person. So like when I saw AI, I was like, let's go. Like, I am in it. I think it's great. Obviously there's cons to it, but yes, so for example, the jobs that Taylor's going to be up for are going to use AI. You're not going to be able to get away from it, because it's just going to be infused into all the software you use, like Copilot and Microsoft. You're going to just be using it. Canva has it. Like, every software now has it or utilizes it in some way, shape, or form. And some of it's easier to use and it's just there and you don't even know it's there. Yeah, or like when you Google something, what comes up first? The Gemini results. So
that's
been
AI. Worked into everything so fast now.
Now you have to scroll down like almost an entire page to get
even see a real link.
Yeah, which I find a little bit annoying when I'm trying to
get real facts.
I don't mind the AI summary, because sometimes it'll tell me exactly what I need.
Yeah.
But a lot of the times I want to find a website or an article, and it's annoying when I have to scroll down.
So what your guys' jobs are going to be is how SEO then has changed. Search engine optimization has changed then. So like, you're going to have to figure out, and people are going to need to hire to that. Like, how do we get our site more clicks and views, because it has to filter through all of this AI stuff. SEO, as it was before, is not the same. It's changed. So, or for example, social media managers weren't a thing when I was teaching at all. Like, that position did not even exist. And so I was teaching a social media, it was MySpace at the time, and I was teaching a unit on that. It was a 3-day unit, and I brought it to the district for digitals. I was teaching it in digitals, mind you. And this is what, 09, 12, 11? I don't know. Long time ago.
Yeah,
you guys were probably
born.
in Pampers. But, I think that just forward thinking like that. So when you ask me that question about like, what do I think about this as a dad? I remember going down to, teachers probably don't want to hear this at Foss, but I remember going down the stairs to Wilson's room one time. Yeah. And he was like, I got to get in. I was just like, just use AI. He had to get this paper done. Right. And I was just like, just use AI, man. Like, get it done, and you can save yourself some time, as long as you understand how to engineer it and know what questions to ask, because we were talking about the questions.
Yeah, something I enjoy doing for AI is if I'm writing like creative writing or an essay, I'll feed it into like an AI summarizer, because if AI can get the correct idea of what I'm trying to convey in a paper or something, then surely my teacher can understand it.
Yeah, for sure.
And I do believe though, like AI Claude is really good. Claude has a really good, like if Claude did, I think it's Claude AI or something like that, but its writing style is really good. But there's some, I can kind of tell if it's AI, honestly. I think humans know humans, and that's why I'm not scared of it from a business perspective or as a father, because I do think that most humans can delineate. I was gonna say that, but I don't know if that's the right word I'm trying to use. But you can see if it's AI or not. Like if you look at a piece of art, you can see if it's AI.
Yeah,
or not.
like my mom said, because she's been using AI in finance to like translate entire documents that have been sent to her in languages she doesn't know.
Yeah.
AI is great for content, but it's really bad at emotion.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it's great at numbers. Or I could take a picture of this room right now and say like, hey, I'm gonna do a podcast. Show me the equipment for mics, and I've done this before. Took a picture of my room, and it gave me links to everything. I said, give me links, and I want this, and this. Gave me all the links and gave me 3 of each thing that I needed to fill this room up with the right equipment for the budget that I wanted, and there it was. I did it with my budget. I just took a picture of my budget without giving like too much information about my actual business and stuff, just the numbers and the actual lines. And I said, do a budget for this for 2025 based on the Northwest MLS transactions and where you think the market's going to go. And I just did it. Not that did I go off of that? No, I did my own, but I did that and I compared the two, and it was kind of close actually. So there's a lot of ways that you can really not take shortcuts,
Like a check,
but to check yourself. Yeah, it's an assistant. It's the best assistant you've ever had. Like it's the smartest person you've ever known, and it's just right in your pocket, which is kind of crazy to me.
Like there are a lot of there were a lot of assistant positions, but those might go away as AI becomes more prominent, and then we can focus energy. Then we can focus energy towards having more business owners and more entrepreneurs and more.
All right, now I will say though, and I'm going to go ahead and put on the old head hat. I don't think teachers will ever be replaced. I think that humans will never be replaced. I just think that humans will need to evolve their skill set based on AI and how much faster we can get to wherever we need to go. That's all.
Yeah, I actually want to ask you guys something, or everybody else at this table something.
Yeah.
Do you guys think that, because I felt like people have always been used to just like word generators, and that's always kind of been around, but does AI scare you guys when, especially, I felt like early AI image generating was like creepy. Have you guys seen the video of, what is it? It's like The Rock eating, or Will Smith eating spaghetti or something. That video, I'm not gonna lie, it freaked me out. I saw it for the first time, and it kind of gave me like an uncanny valley effect, or like I think it's Chat GPT 4 that can like, you can talk to it and it has like a human voice and it doesn't stutter or anything. Does that creep you guys out at all?
I feel like, I know for me, we talked a little bit about art earlier, and I feel like what you kind of brought up about like how it's so cool until it gets to a point of people are only using it to make money and it's not their own. I feel like that's kind of the scary part, because we go from something so like helpful and useful to like get answers, and then we use it for money when it's not really like in a purpose to like be used for. So I feel like it really just comes with like how you're using it. And also back in the day, like a couple years ago, when they would use like the AI phone calls and then like copy your voice and like try to get money, I think it's definitely needs to be a place where we can use AI in a safe way and figure out how to like keep that safe, which I know we're still working on, but I'm sure we'll get there.
For me, I think I really like using AI for getting content when I don't want to have to slodge through, 50 pages of a PDF for history. Because I like history, but not that much. But it definitely scares me when I'm thinking about like small creators that are pouring hours or weeks into creating art pieces or small animated projects, and then their art gets screen recorded and fed to an AI, and then somebody makes something similar for money, and people follow the account because they think, oh, it's just an alternate account for the artist, or it's a similar art style.
Yeah.
So that scares me of people losing their livelihoods. But I think in terms of using it to speed processes along or getting just facts, bullet pointed lists, I don't think that's necessarily the worst thing ever.
Say the thing you always say about the internet.
You already what
About the internet?
about the internet?
Yeah, you always like, man, I wasn't around when the internet was getting created. And everything was like,
For real.
it's gonna ruin everything.
Well, no, yeah. I mean, I think that you're always going to have the worst case scenario. I think there's actually other technologies in play that are evolving right now that are going to help with that, with the art thing, or with verification of digital ownership, and it's called a digital asset or a non-fungible token. That's where the use case is for that, in my opinion, because where you have this thing that can be cloned, we need a way to validate whether who owns it, when did they make it, who's owned it before, has it been sold, all of those things that's etched into what's called a blockchain. And so that's where that technology, in my opinion, has a place because of AI. And so these are two converging technologies that we're grappling with right now that I feel like have both have validity, but you're going to have to sift through the greed and the .com boom where there's like people making tons of money for no reason and memes and all the other things, right? So I think there's a way out of this, and I think that there's a for the art piece, because I agree with the art piece. I do fear that for creatives for sure.
Yeah, I've been taking to making really big and obvious watermarks all over my art.
Yeah, for
before
sure.
I post it.
Yeah.
If there's one key message you want educators, students, and parents to take away from this conversation, what would it be? Taylor?
AI is a tool to be used. It's not the solution to your problem. You know, maybe in a couple years, the person who's sitting next to the smart kid and is looking over and trying to get all their test answers is going to be looking at their watch or something. I'm sure that people are already doing that. But teachers, you have to embrace the change and not fear it. And I think that's always been a thing with all new changes in technology and society and all that. And students, you know, try to learn the thing you're using a little bit. I know that probably everybody has touched AI in school-related matters at least once, and it would be nice if you knew how to use it.
Dave, do you have anything to add?
I mean, and I'm speaking more to staff and you know, some students too, but more the old heads. Just be curious, and don't. I think there are a lot of things to be fearful of, but I think there's way more things to be excited about. Way more. It's going to make life so much more efficient, so that we can get to critical thinking and get to some things that we don't even know. That's what makes it exciting. When the internet came about, we didn't know. When social media came out, all I heard was, why would I want to share my food? Well, there's so many other use cases for social media, right? And so I think we're at that point right now too, with all of these technologies happening right now, that just being curious about it and not being so fearful that it drives you away from something that actually is happening right in front of our faces. So that's my only. It's pretty simple.
I mean, there's something really cool I saw on Tumblr, actually. When they were making Jurassic Park movies, they were like, how do we get the dinosaurs to move? And they use like very early AI. And using bird models and adapting them. Anyway, basically, paleontologists learned something new about dinosaurs because of using an AI tool to make models for the Jurassic Park movies, because like they found out that dinosaurs are more feathered than we think they are.
Yeah, I watched Pong be created in 5 minutes on a phone.
Yeah.
Like, that's crazy. 5 minutes. And the dude made a game. I don't know. There's so many use cases, so I think it makes things accessible and equitable in some ways. So
I mean, not everybody has hours and hours of their life to dedicate to readings or like worksheets on very complicated ways to solve a problem.
Yeah.
So if they can find a way to speed it up, then that's better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Or even taking notes. Like I use a lot of AI to like help me summarize like the most important parts of like a reading, and you know, get the most important things without having to like spend hours reading the assignment?
So for staff members and teachers that are listening, I think we have to be better at instruction and critical thinking, because so I can't just give you busy work anymore, because it's just like, all right, well, yeah, are you going to spend your time doing all this busy work, or are you going to like really be critical? Like the questioning matters. And so like, what's the question? So like, if you have those notes, then I need to spend time on my questions and make sure that they're questions that are super like thoughtful and maybe only specific to what we had talked about in class.
Yeah.
You know, so I think that we just have to be more intentional as adults.
In a world where there's so many different things being created and added and discovered every day, we don't have time to talk about the same thing for weeks at a time if everybody got it on day 3.
Yeah. Right. So yeah, I think there's a lot of pros here, but I think it'll evolve us into higher level thinking and critical thinking, hopefully.
Dave, Taylor, thank you for spending some time with us today. And remember, your future isn't found, it's forged. Keep pushing, keep growing, and keep defining your destiny. Until next time.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Pleasure.